Welcome back, Tony. So now tell us about some of the away missions that you did with this new freighter ship, the Max von Laue.
Yeah, it went for a few days. They voted on the name, and we had hoped for a cool name, but it was the CCCSS Max von Laue, and all those guys that worked down below in the cargo hated the name, but the Germans loved it. At least that was what I understood. We did cargo stuff. We went all over the place. We went inner solar system and dropped cargo off in the Kuiper Belt to a German base. There were other bases that were out there that we were aware of. We weren't allowed to go to. We were never allowed to go to Venus or anywhere inside close to the sun. We did. We dropped off in inner Earth. I remember stepping out onto a place that was inside the Earth that we had dropped off cargo. We had a few different devices to do it. We had like an anti-grav, like a light beam, and all the guys down that I worked with fought over that. They wanted to use that one. You didn't really require any training or be certified, and there was a staircase. You'd go up above where we worked, and take a stairs up, and you could look down windows on the loading area, wherever that was, and then there was a little screen and with a joystick on one side and a button and a large, like a stereo volume knob, and you would just put the joystick on whatever piece of cargo you wanted, hit the button, and it would lock it, and you'd turn the volume knob up, and it would anti-grav and pick it up. I don't think it was the light that was doing it. I think it was a targeting light, but there was an anti-grav there, and it would pick it up, and the computer would put it right in the cargo bay, and there were guys with anti-grav tools to carry the heavy stuff and put it in place. And then I would measure. I would do that, and I would measure the size and the weight of the package, and then on my terminal I would enter all that data in and generate a report on how to stack it the most efficiently. Also, we never had to, but I guess in heavy fog and like a sandstorm or there was snow, there were certain places where that anti-grav wouldn't work. So we had a standard crane, two folding crane arms that came out with cables. And myself and one other person were the only ones that were certified on the ship. You had to take a class to know how to hook that up and use that system. But I never used it. I never had to use it. I got certified. We went all over. There were times when there was a drive, or I don't know if it was a portal or a drive that we used, but there was a time, there were certain methods of travel that when we got there, everybody was disoriented. People would throw up. You would feel dizzy, and so because everybody was being rated on performance, you weren't allowed to begin your job it was a 10-minute timer, and a buzzer would go off when the 10 minutes was up, and then we could go to work. And I remember I would always feel great after 5 minutes and be ready to work, and hate waiting I just wanted to get to work, But I don't know. We didn't do that all the time. That was a rare instance. I think it was a portal, or it was some strange drive that we used only on certain occasions to go trade with, certain people. There was a negotiation team, the bridge crew, and that guy was the guy in charge of that was a complete psychopath. We butted heads constantly. He always thought I had more room in my cargo bay than I did, and I would always just be right on my numbers. And we argued a lot. And he was just your typical sociopath. He was not a good guy. The other guys, the command crew, the captain was a really good person. I felt that from him. He really just wanted to do what was right. He wasn't some evil person, They were all super arrogant, and I've said this to other people that they were technologically superior to what we are, but they were not socially superior to how we behave on Earth. They were kind of like, the society wasn't evolved to the point where, they still had slaves. What are you gonna do? I was fortunate enough to go down to planets on 2 occasions. I'll cover these. I'm trying to move quick, because I know we're low on time. There was whenever we needed military hardware, we would go pick it up at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. And the reason I remember that is because there were a lot of people from Europe. Guys I worked with were from Europe, and the standing joke was that it was an Italian first name with a Spanish second name in the Indian Ocean. So that was our joke. That's where we're going, and. So we'd always laugh about that. But there was a big place there, and we would go there and pick up cargo or military hardware. When we needed, if we needed a helicopter, that's where we would pick it up at. There was one mission on a planet very far away, and they were a society that was unaware of extraterrestrial life like we are. So it was a secret. We were doing a secret negotiation with their secret. It wasn't even their government. We weren't even dealing with. We were dealing with some guys in charge of some. They just had scored whatever it was, a large amount of some good. I was not aware of what it was, but we had to sneak in. So, and it was a swampy place. So we went to Diego Garcia and we picked up an LCAC, a marine hovercraft, but they had to customize it. They had to so it would fit on the ship. So they cut it in half. It was an LCAC. They cut it in half, and then they took, I don't know, 5 or 10 feet out of the middle of it, and then we'll put it back together. And then we had 2 Marines come with us, and they knew that they were going to be blank slated. They knew that they were not going to remember the mission, but they came with us to pilot it and help with it if anything broke down or anything. And I got to go on that mission. It was kind of like I did good that month, so I was being rewarded with an away mission. So we touched down, the LCAT came out, we all rode in it, and it was a swampy area, and it was cloudy, so I didn't really see the sky that night. But I sat on the front of it. It was dark, and it was swamp. And they said that if I went in the water, I'd be dead almost immediately. That it was poisonous to us. And there were like dead trees coming up out of it, and most of them had like webs. You know, like the worms that happen in the north or south. Like we get them here. You know, a tree with all the big web. I think it's a worm or something, or that gets in there. But they were all like that. They were all dead trees, and there were a few that were alive that had strange, like spiral leaves coming out of them that were like a pinkish, like a rose color. When we got there, the person that we got onto land finally, it was about a 40-minute ride. And when we got onto land, the alien that came out that we dealt with could most easily be described as a rat. He looked like a rat. He had a tail. He was very short. He must have weighed less than 90 pounds. And we had translators that we could translate when we spoke, and the translator he had a very peculiar dialect, so that even the translator didn't translate him clearly, so he sounded weird when he talked, you know what I mean, like, you know, like another language, somebody that doesn't know your language that well, so he sounded kind of strange, and whenever he left, the Germans would make fun of him, you know, they were bullies about it, you know. I remember I liked him, and I was impressed, you know. But they were just said he was some dummy, so stupid. We're gonna get it. If we get a good deal, if this is a good deal that works out, we're gonna take this stuff. So they had me. I had a version of a smart glass pad that only had one piece of software on it. That I did the calculations on how many of those things we could take per load in the LCAC and how many we could fit in the ship, and that was all I did. I was done in 5 minutes with my job on that trip, and. I guess it didn't work out. The deal didn't work. It didn't do. But that was one of my away missions, and it was memorable. You know what I mean? I kind of had fun on it. You know? I got to talk to the Marine guy, and I got to talk to other people. I was treated like better than what I was. It was a position that was above what I was accustomed to doing, and I was treated with a lot of respect that day. So it was really good. Later on, I know there's a lot more, and I've got to catch a plane, so we'll skip ahead towards the end. Toward the end of my service, we had made a deal, and we were excited. We very rarely did any missions that were close to Earth, or even in the visible sky. They said less than 1% of our missions were in the sky where you could see a star from Earth. We were always farther out than that. And we finally said there was, and the running joke was, "Where are we at? You're in the Pleiades. So where's this load going to go? To the Pleiades?" You know, that was the running joke. Everybody said that. That was the default, place that we were going. So we finally actually did make a deal to do business with people in the Pleiades. And we said, and we were all just ecstatic. We were high-fiving about it. We're going to the Pleiades finally. Finally, after all this time, we're going to go there. And we went there, and the people refused for the negotiation team. The guy that I said was a psycho, they didn't want him setting foot on the place. They took girls from the ship. I guess they had somehow psychically or somehow scanned the crew, and they had chose the people they wanted to deal with. The captain and some girls and a couple of guys from the ship were allowed to go into the city, and they all said it was like marvelous and fantastic. I got to see the loading, the outside the cargo bay. I walked down there and looked outside, and there was a huge, like a parking lot, but it was made out of maybe 20 by 20 stone slabs, you know, that were shined up. It was beautiful, and then you could see off in the distance a road into some trees. It was a jungle kind of, it was a jungle topography. And when they got back, I guess they said they were Mayans. So this rings a chord with what's going on with other experiencers right now. They said they were Mayans and that we had made a deal to trade them for some of their tech for good. They needed like a pharmaceutical or something. And during the next month or so, we took more cargo to them than we had ever taken to anybody. This was our highest priority deal we had ever done. And we took more stuff to them. I came in, and where my terminal was in the morning, I remember coming in with my coffee in the morning, and there would be boxes stacked up where I could barely stand next to my terminal. So we were that overloaded with goods. We showered them with everything we possibly could give them. And in my early service in the days in Peru, I don't think we said this earlier, but the reason they needed me on that plane for the cargo we were taking loads of cocaine from Peru to Colombia, and that was the plane they lost. And one of these shipments I noticed, not a big area, but it looked like the same packages, and I was like, I knew that they didn't want any advanced civilization, more advanced than us, a fourth density civilization or fifth or whatever they were, wasn't going to need any cocaine. And it was right after that load that we were cut off. We were done. And they broke the deal with us. They didn't give us any tech back. They severed the deal. We had taken tons and tons and tons of cargo to them. And the next day our mission was scrubbed. We didn't go to work. The day after that we went to meet with, we went to Jupiter, and we went inside a place, to a base. And when you went inside, there were no stars. You couldn't see any stars. It was just black sky, black. And then it was a big metal base in there. And they brought me in. Everybody that had a meeting at the bridge crew got taken in, and there was a long corridor, and there was a tall reptile guy in a robe. I want to say he was white, but he was like pale. He was like pink, brownish, pinkish. You know, he was a darker, but he was white. He was a tall reptile person with kind of a snout. And he let us in. And one of the guys from the bridge crew, he asked me, he said, "Do you know why you're here?" And I said, "No, why?" He said, "We brought you here to die, because they have a tendency to get their point across by killing some of the crew." And I was freaked by that, but I kind of had a feeling in my mind that I wasn't going to die. You know what I mean? Like, I was comfortable in my life. I didn't think that, why would you kill me? And so we went in there, and when we got there, he opened the guy that led us there went inside a room, and he came back out, and he said, just you three. And he took the captain and the Corvette captain and the other one, I forget, commander. And they went in, and when the captain came out, he was totally hysterical. They were carrying him out. He had tears, he was crying, he was shaking violently, and he couldn't speak or anything. He was just in a mess. And they said, "Come on, let's get out of here as fast as we can." And we got back on the ship and went. And then from that point on, for the next couple of weeks, we only did inner solar system. We would do an entire mission all day, and we would only take a couple truckloads worth of cargo. It was like we were on the shelf, And then a few weeks later, we were taken to Diego Garcia, and we waited. Our shipment was late, so they pulled us over to Turtle Bay there, and they dropped a cargo net out of the back cargo bay, and they let us go swimming in the ocean there. It's called Turtle Cove or Turtle Bay. And I didn't go, but I remember looking down. There were girls from the ship. They said, "Come on down and swim," and I said, "No. I'm not going in there, because I knew we were going to unload some important equipment. I was told it was an important shipment." So we waited about 4 hours for the ship to come in. It was coming from China or Malaysia or somewhere. And we went back and picked up some stuff, and then I got handed radiation protocols, what to do if your radiation burned, with the shipment. And we were going, well, what is this? What are we doing? And we went back to Ceres, and it took them 3 days to modify the ship, what they said. And then during the mission briefing, they told me that because I was certified on the crane, that they're going to need to rotate that these were missiles, nuclear missiles, and that we had already lost enough money on the mission that they weren't going to give us the new missiles. We had to use antiquated Earth missiles, cruise type missiles. That we'd already wasted enough money. They gave us the cheapest ones they could find, but they were nuclear missiles. And that my position, because I had that crane, if it was in a cassette that rotated out, protruded out from the cargo bay, and if it when it fired, I had a couple commands to put into for the crane to rotate the cassette. And we all knew it was wrong, and everybody down it. So we went down, and we were working. We didn't go anywhere. We just worked on the ship. We didn't leave. And everybody said, "Man, if we're going to nuke people, we're going to nuke an advanced civilization. I'm not going to do it." Everybody I worked with said, "I'm going to refuse to work. I'm going to refuse." And the next morning when we went to go, I said, "Nobody." I raised my hand and I said, "Nobody wants to go through with this." And they said, "Relax. We just want to go there and show a force. They owe us payment, and we just want to go show them that we're serious. That's all this is. We're not going to hurt anybody. Don't worry about it." And we went there, and the command came, and I could hear it on the other side of the wall. The door opened, and there was turbulence. We were in the atmosphere, and the command came to shoot. And you could hear it. It was a huge missile going off. You could hear it. The rocket engine light off and go. And then the command, and I didn't do it. I was freaked out. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if we were shooting nukes at them, at their cities, or if we were shooting them above them. I don't know. It was very traumatic. It was a very traumatic experience. But I refused, and then there was an intercom, "Hurry up." They called me Garoosted, was my nickname. And they said, "Garoosted, rotate the cassette. What are you waiting for? What are you doing?" And I stood there, and all I had to do was hit one button, and I couldn't do it. And they hit me with the shock collar. And the mind control stuff was as such that if I got electrically shocked, I would be complacent and do whatever I was told. And it was very effective. So they shocked me, they left it on. I rotated the cassette, we fired everything we had. And then I was demoted at that point, and I lost my job, and I was down in the cargo bay. And they put me on the hardest job they could put me on in cargo. And I was just manually carrying boxes and stacking them up. And I think I did 6 or 8 months of that, and that was the end of my 20 years. And the guy walked me back, one of the officers walked me back to my transport to go back to the Earth. And he said, "It was none of your business to worry about what we were shooting at or where we were. You had no idea what was going on. You should have just did what you were told." And he said, "Go back." He said, go back to your life, lead a quiet life, marry a nice German girl, and settle down and have babies." And he said, "You're not going to remember any of this anyway." And I wanted to remember. I had a girlfriend at that point, and I wanted to remember her. I was in love with her. And the whole ride back, we were in a disc, and the whole ride back, I paced back and forth. I'm not going to forget this. I'm not going to forget this. I'm not, And I never got to say goodbye to her because I was demoted. I went back to being, a prisoner. And I was combative the whole time. I think I was back on the lunar base, and I was combative through the whole process because I knew that they couldn't kill me. They had to put me back, and I knew that they couldn't keep me in prison or give me any kind of punishment. I knew that they had a timetable, so I was very combative with them. They, sit on the table. I was like, "No, you're an idiot. You guys are stupid." And that whole time was really kind of a traumatic thing for me. The age regression thing was a lot like Corey described it. I was on a table with they put the things up on you, and they give you a bunch of injections that are painful, and I had to stay still for weeks. And eventually I remember being like effervescently, like energy about like being electrocuted, but like effervescently. And next thing you know, I was a 9-year-old kid again on a table with the reptile and the grays back where I started. And they asked me if I remembered anything, and I didn't. I didn't remember at that point. And they laughed. They said, "Yeah, right." Because the whole time I told them, "I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember this." And they said, "He doesn't remember anything." And I got mad. They were laughing at me, and I got really mad. And I said, my mom had told me, they gave me the religious thing. And I said, "In Jesus' name, I'm going to remember this." And I was pissed. And I was a kid again. And they all stopped and looked, and there was somebody looking at timelines. There was a long-necked gray, and he worked the computer on the wall, and he was looking at timelines, and he said, "You guys screwed up now." And they took me in and put me into a different interface in a different room, and it was the AI deal, and there was one screen that showed me people being butchered, you know, like traumatic imagery, like people being chopped, like first person, women and children being cut with machetes and things. And it showed me, and I went, whoa, and I was back to being a kid again. And then another screen moved out toward me, and I felt electrocuted, and it was the AI. It was an AI. And I blacked out at that point. I don't know what they programmed in there, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they did to me. But I woke up the next morning in my bed and got up and had breakfast with my sister and my mom and dad. And I felt like I hadn't seen them in forever. And I said, I haven't seen you guys in forever. I can't believe it. And my sister said, don't be stupid. You know, she was 5 years older than me. She picked on me back then. And she said, don't be stupid. We saw you last night. I said, I haven't seen you guys in years. And I went to school that day, and when I asked to go to the bathroom, I had forgotten where the bathroom was. And I asked the teacher, can I go to the bathroom? And she said, yeah. I said, can you help me, tell me where it's at? And the whole class laughed at me and talked, said, what's wrong with me? And my teacher called home and said I had amnesia. Did I hit my head, or, you know, what was wrong? I guess I had a few marks on me back here. I had wounds, and went back to my life, man. And I had problems from that whole experience. I had times where I didn't fit in. I've had emotional problems. I had relationship problems, girlfriends. You know, I've been inappropriate to my peers, and I never knew why. And when I got these memories back, the bulk of them came back. I never knew. I always had the memories. I always had weird memories. Being in space, flying, looking out the window at the geyser on Ceres, looking out the window at the trapezium in Orion. We were there, and just memories of being with my friends. And you know, I had sex memories, but I was a kid. And when I finally, so I always told myself they were a dream. They weren't real. When was I doing that? You know, because I still have memories of my life that's normal. And so when I learned about the age regression, I guess it all kind of hit me. And when I thought about it, I never knew about the time travel component or the age regression, any of that. And when I internalized that, then all those memories connected, and it all made sense to me. And it's helped heal a lot of the problems I had. There's so much more that we can't cover in this interview because we don't have time. I've got to go. I've got a plane.
Okay.
And I hope that I can get this down. I'm just trying to help out with disclosure here. And but that stuff was real. Those places on Earth that I've been to that I've never been to, I found them. They're real. And that stuff happened.
Well, thank you, Tony. This is really just the beginning, and I'm looking forward to more information coming out. I know you're writing a book about this, and I know that you're going to be revealing more as you get these memories out there. So I want to thank you for the courage to come forward and reveal the truth to people, and I know this is going to inspire many others to come forward as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Sal. You've been a great help. Goodbye, everybody.